Hello, welcome to this hip mobility drill today. We're going to start off in what we call 90-90, so 90 degrees at the hips, 90 degrees at the knees, belly button facing the thigh. We're going to lean over. Sitting back up, swapping into the other direction, keeping 90 and 90 degrees with your knees and your hips. We're going to flip back and forth, leaning over into the stretch in each position. You might feel this in the lower back, you might feel this in the hamstrings as well. It's okay to feel these sensations as long as it's not painful. We're just greasing up the hip joint. So the hip is a ball and socket joint, so the leg can move in all directions, front, back, side to side and round in a circle. We're going to be moving all ways, greasing up that hip joint. So after we've done 3 or 4 each side, we're going to lean over and hold the stretch. About 10 seconds. And flipping the other way and leaning over, full body weight, sinking into that thigh. Shoulders away from the ears. And coming into our next move, which is good old child's pose. So our knees are wide, feet together, sinking our hips back down onto our heels. Big stretch through the lats underneath the armpit. Now bring one knee forward underneath the torso, sitting on our foot now. Full body weight dropping into the floor, looking up to the ceiling. Let's take that back into child's pose. We've got a little bit of flexion in the spine here and opening up into an extension of the spine. But really sitting into this kind of half cobra position, opening up the hip joint, opening up the hip flexor and loosening the lower back in the child's pose. So if you've been sat at a desk all day, you haven't moved, or behind the wheel of a car, this is great to loosen up and grease up the hips. These mobility drills are great if you just need to spend 10 minutes moving, something that's really low intensity. These are ideal if you have just had a baby. And it's really good to start moving your body very gently at the beginning, but as quick as possible. Movement is medicine, remember. And we're just flipping back into child's pose, into that hip flexor stretch. So you can do a couple on one side and change legs, or you can just do it alternately. There's no right and wrong, whatever feels good for you today. Just trying to increase your range every rep you do. Getting as much range of motion as possible. So we're going to flip over into the prone position. That means laying on our back, looking up. I'm going to take the right foot onto the left knee. Now, if you are just postpartum or just postnatal, I want you to take this as what I call level 1, and that is taking the foot, keeping it on the floor, but sliding it towards your bum. Now, you might feel a stretch in the right hip here. So if you are postnatal, I just want you to stay at that movement and not take the knee off the floor. Taking the knee off the floor really engages that core muscle. You might not be ready for it yet. But if you are post 6 weeks or a little bit longer, or not just had a baby, it's absolutely fine to do. So this means we're just taking that left foot off the floor and rocking that hip forwards and backwards. So for 6 weeks postnatal, keep that foot on the floor. Or if you're really tight in the hip, it's absolutely fine to keep that foot on the floor if you're feeling a nice stretch in the hip there. Remember, work at your level, whatever feels good today. We're swapping legs. You may notice one side tighter than the other. Everyone has one more dominant side that does more work, it's more mobile. And after we've done 3 or 4 of those, we're going to do our little 90-90 hip opener. So this time, as we rotate through the hip, we're going to keep the left knee on the floor and bring the right knee up, trying to create as much stretch as possible in the inner thigh. Pushing that left knee into the floor and pulling that right knee up. Let's swap to the other sides. So now the right knee is pushing into the floor actively with that glute muscle. And the glute muscle on the other side, it's pulling my left knee up. Supporting my body weight with my hands behind me. And now we're just going to do a bit of alternate left, right. Get as much range as possible, opening up the hips as wide as possible. And now I want you to come into seated position with your feet together as close to your hips as possible. Give the knees a little bounce to the sides. Just to finish off our hip mobility. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching.